Everyone, it's Monique Renewed. Welcome back to another video. Today's video we will be discussing 22 benefits of a Daniel fast, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I have discussed on a previous video of mine that I've completed the Daniel fast for the first time in the entire duration. It was actually like 20 and a half days because I was going out of town the last day, but despite that, I'm really proud of myself because I've attempted this fast I think like twice before in the past, and I failed. Well, I won't say fail because everything is like a process, right? But I did not complete it for the entire duration both times, but I felt like they were building blocks for this moment that I actually completed it. As I was doing the fast, I was jotting down things that God was helping me to realize, things that I learned, things that I did that helped me better myself in life. And I wanted to share that with you guys today. I also have a free ebook of the meals that I ate. Is 30 meal ideas for the Daniel fast that you can make to make your life so much more easier, guys, because I was determined. So I had planned out everything in my own little meal planner in my notebook, and so I transformed everything into a free ebook for you to download down below in the description box. So go ahead and grab your copy, girl. I had combined recipes from the previous fast that I did and this fast and made it into a comprehensive downloadable with a meal planner or grocery list template. So I have a blank one and then I have an example in there as well. So yeah, go ahead and grab that, girl. So yeah, today we're gonna be going through the benefits because I feel like this Daniel fast low-key like kind of changed my life and I just learned so much. So sharing is caring, so that's what we're gonna do today. If you have not read the book of Daniel, I implore you to do that first before you begin a Daniel fast, so you can kind of have an idea of what you're getting into. There are 2 records of a fast in the book of Daniel. Daniel did like a 10-day fast where he ate only vegetables and drank water to prove to the king for his like pre-training that he doesn't need to eat their type of foods. He want to stick with the God-given foods that were given in nature, okay, by our Heavenly Father. This stuff runs deep, okay, but we're gonna get into all that. He turned out to be stronger, better, faster, more good looking than all the other men in the king's court. And then he did another fast because God had showed him all these visions of the future and he was very terrified, so he went into prayer and consecration for 21 days. So there's 2 records of a fast, so we can see that fasting is beyond just food. It, like I said, it ties in physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So let's get into it. The physical benefits. Number 1, if you haven't checked out my vlogs, I have a routine where I get up at like 4:30 in the morning and I work out every day. And part of that routine is me taking certain supplements to fuel my workout, such as pre-workout that tends to be highly caffeinated, creatine, chlorophyll drops, just all types of crazy concoctions and stuff. Because, you know, looking at YouTube and TikTok got you thinking that you need all these supplements. And God really convicted me to stop with all the supplements. That's the first thing that I learned, is that I don't need pre-workout, first of all, especially those caffeinated ones. I've been doing a lot of research with hormones and cycle syncing. I have a video right here about that. And caffeine can really disrupt your hormones, especially estrogen. If you are a girly, like you tend to get like a lot of headaches, you tend to be lethargic even though you're caffeinated, you might want to look into that, okay? So God had convicted me to take more natural pre-workouts. So during the Daniel fast, I limit all that stuff and to turn to more natural resources. Instead of my pre-workout concoction, I would eat like a date with natural peanut butter and some walnuts. That would be my pre-workout, or some grapes, or half a banana, or a plant-based protein shake. That was my pre-workout. And guess what? I was just as fueled with the fruits and stuff and the natural sources over the pre-workout, and it didn't give me jitters, it didn't give me a crash, it didn't give me a headache the next day if I forego the caffeine. Because that's the thing, like if I drink caffeine like every single day, if I stop drinking it, I will get like these excruciating headaches, and I know it's because of caffeine. That was a lot for number 1, but that is for somebody out there. I'm telling you, like, look into your caffeine intake. I know Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts and these drive-thrus are so popular and we must get it in order to go into the office or in order to walk into school and look cute, but when your health is on the line, it ain't cute, okay? All right, number 2, I've done a lot of research into beans, y'all. Beans, it's so crazy. God literally supplies all of our needs on this earth. I swear, I think there's like a natural medicine for everything, for every synthetic medicine. If you think about it, medication, chemical medication, I used to be a pharmacy technician, which is so funny that I'm talking about this, but synthetic medication is just a replication of something that's occurring natural on the earth. if you really think about it. It's just a replica of it. And how do you think they come up with these ideas in the first place? They have to copy something else that's already there. And this is how Satan works if you really think about it. What does he do? He copies everything that God does and perverts it and changes it to have the opposite negative effect. That's why I said this stuff runs deep if you really think about it. But anyways, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Beans. Okay, I've done a lot of research about beans. Check out the Bean Protocol by Mrs. Heard. She has a whole story. Basically, her daughter got poisoned by pesticides and the doctor said there's nothing we could do. She's gonna die. That woman went into a library. She did not accept that fate, okay? God gave her the miracle of beans and she did some research. She read a book that talked about how beans can detoxify your liver and empty out your liver and help your body recover. She gave her daughter beans. Boom, her daughter lived, okay? So I started doing more research about beans. I started making chickpea cookies. I started incorporating chickpeas here, there, everywhere. I think they're like my favorite type of beans or legume or whatever. Beans, legumes, y'all, is a natural detoxifier. It does so much for your body. It's something that's this little, right? That God put on this earth to help you so much. And I say all this to say because psyllium husk was one of the other supplements that I was taking with my pre-workout concoction. And I just actually ran out of it and I'm buying it again because I use it as a source of fiber. And God was like, why are you using all these supplements when I've already made everything that you need on this earth via foods and like natural plants and resources? Incorporate more beans into your diet. Chia seeds, for example, I was taking an omega-3 supplement for my daily dose of that particular vitamin or mineral, whatever it is. I researched, I googled how much omega-3 is in chia seeds for 1 tablespoon. Why is it twice the amount in the pill that I was taking? Yeah, so I said I'm not buying that anymore. I'm saving so much money by not buying all these supplements anymore because it's always something more natural and just as effective, if not more effective, that is already given on this earth by God. Number 3, going back to the caffeine topic, because I was drinking caffeine so much, it would override my body's natural signal for rest because I was caffeinated, but I was also tired at the same time. Do you understand me? I'm alert somewhat, but my body's fatigued because I really need rest, but the caffeine was not allowing me to rest. Then, like I said, it would override my body's natural signal for rest, which is not God's design for you. If your body feels tired, it needs to go to sleep. That's why he made sleep. So I learned to stop fueling my body so much with caffeine and to let my body naturally tell me when it needs rest instead of over supplementing myself to make myself more alert. Number 4, I had made a video a couple of years ago about my weight loss journey, how I lost 30 pounds. And it's been kind of like inconsistent since then, I'm not gonna lie. I've been up and down and trying to be consistent, but this Daniel fast, I had no choice but to be consistent because I had already a preset plan of what I was gonna eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, and my meals were prepped. I already knew what I was gonna make next week. So it taught me that I know how to be consistent for real. But because I had other choices outside of fasting, I went with those other choices instead of sticking with my plan. So it taught me that if I actually put my mind to it and if I lock in, I can be consistent if I wanted to. So I need to stop teeter-tottering and going back and forth with what I know is right and what I know is not right and stop going wayward. Number 5, another physical benefit that the Daniel fast taught me is that I don't need to eat when I'm not hungry. Sometimes you'll eat a big meal for breakfast and then you're just so accustomed to eating lunch that you'll go ahead and eat lunch. And now I'm realizing as I'm fasting, like, I don't need to constantly eat. And I would eat out of pure boredom or because I was lacking something within me, like I was discontented with something in life, so I would just eat for pure comfort. This fast has allowed me to realize you're not actually hungry, you're just bored. And to find some other source of entertainment, which we'll get into in another point. It will really dig up some things that need to be worked out of you spiritually. Number 6, I realized that fast food or processed food is not worth ruining your progress over. Like I had mentioned, Daniel went on a 10-day fast to prove that he could be better and stronger without the king's indulgent foods, and he was more healthier, more vibrant than the other men in the court. And I'm not saying that you can never eat out. Of course I eat out, of course, you know, I take a break every once in a while, but sometimes I would overdo it and ruin my progress and then hate myself for it, and I would be in the same deadly cycle over and over again. I believe that the physical and the mental, the emotional and the spiritual, everything is connected together in your body. God made us body, soul, spirits. If I am affected physically, if something's going on with me physically, it's most likely also started mentally, and then it's gonna affect me emotionally and spiritually, and then it's just like a downhill battle in a never-ending cycle. I would do things to try to make make up for eating poorly, like over exercising or skipping meals. It was really toxic once I think about it. It helped me to realize, okay, if you're gonna keep doing this, like beating yourself over it, it's not really worth it to begin with. It's not to say you can never indulge, but if you know that you're overdoing it, then set boundaries so that you're not self-deprecating, hating yourself, doing all types of crazy things to try to make up for the over excess. Just stop right there. Show yourself grace, first of all, because we're all human, right? We all mess up. But then think more long-term rather than short-term gratification. Number 7, like I was saying with the boundaries help you break that loop and that cycle that you're in when you keep running around in the same circle over and over again. Like I said, boundaries. And also try to replicate your favorite foods, your favorite takeout food at home. And it'll be 10 times healthier for you once you use your own ingredients, once you incorporate your fruits and your vegetables and your whole grains. It'll be so much more better for you. And I realize that it's not going to taste exactly the same. Sometimes we miss that fast food taste, that fried deep oil, extra salt, extra butter, extra sugar taste. But I'm telling you right now, these companies purposely make food like that with high sodium, high sugar, high fat content to hijack our taste buds to keep us going back for more of that food. So it's a reason why homemade food doesn't taste the same. But once you get accustomed to it, you'll realize that this actually tastes better and it's healthier for you. Think long term. It might not affect you now, but 10 or 15 years later down in life, or even 5 years later, you don't want to find yourself at the doctor's office getting prescribed blood pressure medication, diabetic medication, high cholesterol. I've seen this in my mother time and time again. Endless doctor visits, endless hospital visits, bags full of medication. It's not worth it, okay? Number 8, the Daniel fast helped me realize that I do not need large portion size food. This is obvious, right? But sometimes we make ourselves these huge plates of food thinking that yes, we can eat it all, we can, but we don't need it. It helped me to reduce my portion sizes of food because I'll just keep eating and eating, and then I'm not realizing that I'm not hungry anymore because I didn't give myself a chance to pause with the overeating, and then I'm overly stuffed. Especially if you're working at a desk job like a lot of us do, you don't need that much food. So basically you need to base the amount of food on your energy levels. If you're not an athlete, if you're not running a marathon, chances are your body does not need that much food. And once you start reducing your portion sizes, you might feel a little hunger because your body is used to eating a certain amount. But then once you keep doing it, you'll realize, okay, I can get full off of less food. So if you're sitting in the bed, laying down all day watching TV, you don't need plates and plates of food. Manage the amount of food that you eat based off the energy that you need. So say if you're like going out on the town and you're going to be really active that day, you may need to fuel your body even more than usual. But I start to realize, okay, if I'm in the house all day, less food. If I'm more active, more food. Number 9, I would consistently lie to myself, picking off of other people's plates, my husband's plates, my kids' plates, picking off their food, thinking, oh, this little bite doesn't count towards my calorie expenditure. Girl, bye. It does count. Every little bite counts, okay? And this is not to be like overly restrictive, but I would like literally try to deceive myself thinking, oh, this little bite doesn't count. But then by the time all your bites are done, you done ate a whole plate of food, extra food. That is what I mean. Like, I had to tell myself to stop being greedy, to mind my own plate, basically. Number 10, the last physical benefit of a Daniel fast for me was to learn how to appreciate my meal prep. I basically meal prepped all my Daniel fast meals, so that's why I mentioned that. Oftentimes, like outside of the fast, I would meal prep food, but then I would want like Chipotle or I would want Chinese food, and then my meal prep would sit there and rot in the refrigerator, and then I would feel so bad, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I let this go bad, and I would have to throw the food in trash and waste food. So if I'm taking the time, the energy, and the effort to make myself a healthy meal, I would often take that for granted, and this fast helped me to learn not to take that for granted, especially food, because you never know how somebody is struggling. I always hated wasting food since I was young, especially when you see people out in the streets, they're asking for food, they're hungry, and then I'm over here throwing food in the trash. That's the number one thing I hate doing sometimes, is throwing food in the trash. Sometimes you have to throw it in the trash, but like, it's not something that I like to do. So I try to be mindful of that, is to appreciate what I already have in the house and stop going the cheap alternative route that I will regret in the long run. Next segment is spiritually, and it's so funny that number 11 ties into with the last physical benefit. Stop wasting stuff and to appreciate what God already gave you. So I would ask God for an abundance. You know, we all been there, right? God is a God of abundance. Please bless me with an abundance. But then God was like, you already have an abundance. Look at everything that you already have. And that's not to say that he won't give you other things or he won't give you more, but he had to like sit me down and help me realize, like, girl, you already have an abundance. And then I would look at some of my stuff collecting dust, and I'm like, God, you're right. Like, why am I asking you for more? And it seems like I'm not stewarding what I already had. So I had to learn how to appreciate what I already had in the moment and let God bring me whatever it is that I need at the time that I need it, instead of asking and begging, oh, I'm gonna give me more, more, more. And it's like, you don't even use what I already gave you. So why am I gonna give you more? Okay, he don't talk like that. I'm just adding my own little 2 cents into it. So yeah, so I learned how to appreciate what God already gave me, use that, and then allow him to give me my needs day by day. Number 12, this fast taught me how to be creative, okay? So it's certain items that I was accustomed to using that I couldn't use anymore, and I had to make substitutions. Well, for one, you can't eat meat, right? So that's like out the door. And then number 2, like, I would use white flour a lot to make like roux or to bake stuff, and I couldn't use white flour because it's processed. So I would substitute and use like oat flour instead. And girl, I made this one pasta, right? It's this creamy tomato caramelized onion pasta. That thing was some type of good, and I used oat flour and almond milk as a thickener instead of like heavy whipping cream or white flour. That was probably one of the best pastas I'd have ever made. And so that's what I'm talking about. God taught me how to be creative when you're in situations that you can't use certain things. It has you to think outside of the box when you get certain things taken away from you. Number 13, God taught me simplicity and consistency throughout this fast. When I was meal planning my Daniel fast, as I was writing things down, I would like overcomplicate things and add too much ingredients or add too much stuff into it. And then I realized that I'm always doing this to myself in life. I'm a really detailed person, but I tend to over detail and over analyze things, and it causes me to eventually like burn out and to quit very easily because I'm just like too overwhelmed with the details. Like, I cannot. So God had to like sit me down and teach me like simple, okay? 1, 2, 3 ingredients, that's it. Don't overcomplicate things, because when you overcomplicate things and draw them out, it tends to be like, this is too much. During this fast, I had no choice but to be simple with my meal prep, to make it easy on myself. Yeah, just to like relax a little bit. Number 14, I would do a lot of comparison with my life compared to other people on social media, especially like with other Christians. And you know how it is on TikTok. They say, oh, God bless me with this, that job, this car, this house, blah, blah. It's some things in life that I'm still waiting for on God's promises to come to pass. And I feel like, well, dang, like, what's wrong with me that this is not happening for me, but it seems like it's happening for everybody else that, you know, I'm scrolling on. And God had to help me realize that, you know, as I'm reflecting on my life, a lot of prayers he already did answer, more than what I can ask, think of, or even imagine. So I had to stop doing the comparison thing. You know what's so funny? You don't really see everything that goes on in somebody's life. They only show the good parts, but they don't really show like the headaches, the losses, and the sacrifice that they had to go through in order to achieve a certain goal. And I'm not gonna lie, I love it when people keep it real and say, yeah, God brought me here, but this is what I had to sacrifice in the process. This is how many hours I had to work. This is what I couldn't do. This is what I had to do. I had to realize a lot of my prayers were already answered, and I progressed further than what I thought I had. Before, I felt like I wasn't really making much progression in life, and that I still had so much more to go. But then I realized, no, God had actually brought you really far. Appreciate that in the moment, instead of trying to bulldoze to the next step and saying, okay, what's the next step? What's next in life? What more can I achieve? And I had to just, you know, sit back and say, yeah, I think I've done enough. I'm cool. Whatever God brings next into my life, you know, I can wait on that and enjoy the present moment instead of trying to be so future oriented. Number 15, during this fast, God helped me to realize that I have a lot to appreciate in this life, in this time, modern day and age, okay? You know, as a mom, as a worker, I started to appreciate more of the modern day advantages that this life had to offer for me. There's certain things that we have that we take for granted, right? So, especially with household work, like I said, I can overwhelm myself with a long to-do list. I gotta do laundry, I gotta cook, I gotta clean, I gotta do this. Sometimes I feel like I don't have any help, or I have to do everything by myself, which is not true. But it could be really overwhelming sometimes. And God helped me to realize, like, wow, look at everything that you have that makes your life easier. So for example, like a dishwasher, right? A sink with running water. I remember we couldn't use our sink for like a week because I think something had broke, like the garbage disposal. And so I was washing dishes outside, y'all. So it was like, wow. Do you know in some countries that's what they actually have to do? They have to wash dishes outside, and they're not complaining because they're not looking at, well, some of them, I don't know, I don't speak for everybody, I'm just making generalizations. Some of them are not complaining because this is just life that they have, that they are dealt with. And they just appreciate and they just go day by day without complaint, right? Because they're not looking to other people who have all this stuff and then yearning and wanting. Going back to the comparison on social media, the comparison trap. What makes you dissatisfied in life is when you start looking at other people that seemingly have what you don't have, and all of a sudden you become discontented. So that's why the lust of the eyes, that's why it's a sin, because it makes you unappreciative of what God has given you. So yeah, that person may have running clean water, but they may not have something that you do have, which is joy and peace and freedom. You know, you get to be able to go about your life, doing anything you want, going outdoors, you know, being amongst family and community, but they have to be stuck inside all day. So it's like you never know what the give and take is in each and every individual's life. So I had to stop looking at other people's life. That's number one. And number two, appreciate what I already had. A washer and dryer. Yeah, sometimes doing laundry sucks. Well, actually, I don't mind doing laundry, but for one person, doing laundry may suck. But what if you didn't have a washer and dryer? What if you had to hand wash your clothes outside? One time my windshield wipers broke and I attempted to drive back home and I didn't know it was gonna rain. And so I was stuck without any windshield wipers, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I have windshield wipers to see. So it's stuff like that. Yeah, it may be like work, it may be chores that you have to do that you're probably sick of doing, but imagine things could be different. Imagine you don't have a freaking blender to blend your smoothie. How you gonna do a smoothie? You gonna pound it by hand? That's what some people do. They pound things by hand without a blender. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I had to learn to appreciate what I already had in this life, especially in modern day society. I've been reading like a lot of African American novels, especially pertaining to slavery and how they work in a big house versus a kitchen house. They would do everything by hand. It would take from sun up to sundown to make food. They would tend to chickens. They had farms. They had to do everything manually. Before I start complaining about, oh, I have to clean a toilet, at least you have cleaning products. At least you have things to help you in this life. Just think of ways that God has actually put something in your life to benefit you rather than always thinking of the glass half empty. Number 16 actually ties into my last point. I had read a book called You Too Can Be Prosperous, and it basically confirmed what was already in the Bible, and it's that to not speak death or negativity over your situation, which is what I just talked about. When you complain, oh, God does not like complaining. We could see that with the Israelites, especially when you don't realize how much he's actually already helped you and that he's always with you, and all you have to do is ask. All you have to do is ask and he will help you. But because you're too busy grumbling and complaining, guess what? You're not gonna get any help. What parents like to help a child that's always complaining about everything and always being a brat? They're not going to give that child as much attention and as much as what they want than a child that is more appreciative. You know what I'm saying? I was just saying that with my kids the other day. Whenever I give them something, especially like my daughter, she's always like, thank you, mom. Thank you for this clothing that you got me. Thank you for this toy. I love you. You're the best mom. You and mom are the best mom and dad ever. That makes me feel so good. And it makes me want to do more. So think about how God feels when you're sitting up there complaining and grumbling. Not that you're even asking him for help, but you're just complaining about life in general. Oh, life is never looking up for me. Why does God hate me? He's not gonna bless you like that, girl. So what the book had mentioned was that you're basically speaking death into your situation every time you speak negatively. And I already knew this, especially when God had brought the Israelites out of Egypt and they mumbled and complained and, you know, they basically all died off. And God was not pleased with them, especially that he was with them throughout the whole process and basically say, like, all you have to do is ask. Like, this is a relationship. All you have to do is ask me and I will provide for you. I'd even provide for you without you asking me, but all you do is complain. As much as possible, I know it's hard. Like, obviously it's not easy. It's easier said than done, really, especially when you're in the midst of the situation, in the midst of the hardship. It's hard to be grateful, right? What I'm saying is there's always something to be grateful for, though. Even in the midst of heartache, there's always something to be grateful for. So always speak positivity and always speak life into your situation. Do not speak death into your situation. That's what the devil wants to do, and he knows the trick. He's been here for ages, right? He sees how God's system works, and he knows how to get you out of alignment with God, basically trick you out of your favor with God. Don't speak negativity into your situation. Don't speak death into your situation. Only speak positively. Thank God, bless your family, bless your friends. Even people, it's easier to bless the people that you like, right? Even the people that you don't like. There's been times I wanted to cuss people out, and I probably have in my head and out loud. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect, especially if they like annoy me or something. But God had to like teach me, like, no, you can't do that. Even if they irritate you. Even if something happens at work that's irritating, even if something happens at home that's irritating, you can't speak negativity because it's only gonna come back to you. Only speak positively into your situation as much as possible. Okay, so now on to the emotional aspects. I feel like spiritually and emotionally they tie very well together. I don't really fully understand what the link is, but I feel like emotions are spirits, right? There's a spirit of anger, there's a spirit of jealousy. So that's why I feel like they're very closely tied together. So number 17, God taught me that emotions were temporary and to stop reacting out of my emotions. Matter of fact, shout out to my pastor actually. He said a line that was so thought-provoking to me. He said, emotions are significant passengers, but they make horrible drivers. That struck a chord with me because so many times in the past, out of my own immaturity, I would react out of my emotions. My husband actually told me this the other day because we were having a discussion of how we really grew into maturity with each other and how I used to be like wilding. Yes, y'all. Like he was like, oh yeah, I remember you took a bowl of my gumbo and you threw it on the wall beside my head. Yes, I did. Okay. I reacted a lot out of emotions. I broke many things out of emotions, just letting my emotions get the best of me. And over the years, y'all, I'm not the same person. God had to work that mess, that gunk out of me. And I'm not perfect. I'm still not perfect. Okay, I still struggle with my feelings sometimes, especially with anger, but you cannot let your emotions dictate your life because that is a horrible way to live and a way to live a life full of regret. That's how many bad things happen in life when people react out of anger really quick. It happens in an instant, right? That flash of rage and you do something you regret.
Next thing you know, you're in jail.
So I had to learn to be more patient with myself, with people, with certain situations, especially if I'm waiting for God to produce a certain result. I had to just be patient and to just wait it out and just to, like I said, live just day by day. Okay, don't think about the future, don't think about the past, just live in the moment. Number 18, y'all, I'm gonna tell you this right now. This Daniel fast helped me to regulate my nervous system. With my channel making like a new turn, well, not like a new turn, but I've always, in a sense, highlighted the fact about renewing your mind, renewing your body, your soul, your spirit, okay? And that is a mental renewal because everything flows from your mind and your heart, your actions, basically. The Daniel fast taught me that I could not resort to my usual comfort for regulation, for dysregulation actually. I had to resort to the word of God. What I mean by that, I remember like a couple of years ago when I was in my old job in the office, it was like a lot of drama going on, a lot of mess, a lot of grief as well, to be honest. So I would come home, I would be like really depressed. I would come home, I would binge eat on junk food, on cookies to cope with my life, basically. You know, I feel like, dang, I come a long way, especially with this fast. Like I could not do that with the Daniel fast. I could not go downstairs and bake me some chocolate chip cookies because it wasn't permitted. Well, Chloe Yasmin is one of my favorite YouTubers. She said every time she felt like some type of emotion rising, she would literally grab her Bible and turn to the word of God. So I started doing that. And I kid you not, bro. I have the Battlefield of the Mind Bible and it has like devotions in it from Joyce Myers. Joyce Myers is one of my favorite teachers. And I would read one of her devotions randomly from a random page every time I felt like some type of negative emotion rising. And God would speak to that situation every time, right on point. This fast taught me how to regulate my emotions, hence my nervous system. Because with your nervous system, that's you being put in fight or flight mode every time. Like your emotions up and down, up and down, up and down. And that causes strain, stress, and anxiety. So every time I read the word of God, guess what? It would calm me down. I'd be like, okay, I understand. I'm gonna have peace about this situation. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna show grace. And y'all, this is my new Bible. I'm gonna make a video about this, a Bible review. Girl, this Bible is so pretty. I'm in the middle of bedazzling it. And this is like a girl's Bible, but like I don't care. I'm just a girl. It's like a journaling and creative Bible at the same time. So I love this. It's so cute. It was sitting right here, so I just had to grab it for example. By being dysregulated emotionally, you're only stressing yourself out. And guess what? That's gonna lead to high blood pressure, a heart attack, a stroke, a brain aneurysm. That's why I'm saying emotions affect you physically. Everything is all tied together. Number 19, I fell back in love with books, y'all. During the month of February when I did the fast, I have never read so many books in a month prior to that, okay? During the last 2 weeks of the fast, I felt like God was pulling me to say, stop with the social media, okay? Stop with the YouTube, put that down. So I said, okay, I put it down. And then so I started like listening to books on Alexa with my Kindle. Girl, I've read some of the best books that I've read, okay? And I realized that this is really a good alternative to entertainment. With me at least, I find that my mind creates like a lot of imagery, especially when I'm reading or I'm listening to a book. And it just taught me just to use my imagination, okay? You don't need to see things digitally all the time. You could create your own world in your head. So that's what I did with the reading. I try to also incorporate that in my everyday life, just picking up a book or listening to a book mostly, you know, while I'm working, so that I'm kind of like multitasking, and it has really helped. Number 20, speaking of the social media, because I had to put the social media down, I had time to be bored, right? And when I was bored, all of a sudden I had these random brilliant ideas. I would like, you should see my notebook. I have a notebook full of like business ideas, creative ideas, things that I just want to do, like hobbies. I actually created this exhaustive list of like my food inventory of things that I had in the house. I went in my freezers, I went in my pantry, and I wrote down everything that I had in the house to try to make my life easier. So now I have this template that can sync across all my devices, like my laptop, my tablet, and my phone, so that like I can update it. If I'm in the grocery store, I can look at it if I'm in the grocery store, so that I can stop buying duplicates of things. I would keep buying something, the same thing over and over again, thinking that I didn't have it, but then lo and behold, I did have it already. So this had helped me save me time, money, and energy, okay? So like I said, I would think of like the most brilliant ideas when I had time to be bored, because that's when I felt like God was speaking to me, because I wasn't occupied on my phone or watching something. So he would tell me these things and like these ideas, and I'm like, oh my gosh, let me write this down. So yeah, when you come off from things that are distracting you, God might be like, okay, finally I can speak to you and tell you some things. Number 21, instead of sulking into my emotions and basically being in a state of lack of faith, I would take action into the things God told me to do, to prepare for. Like, let's say he made you a promise, you're gonna move, right? You're gonna move to across the state or something, but you're like, okay, yeah, right, I don't believe it. So then you just sit on it, right? So instead of sulking your emotions and not believing God for it, that is your indication to make preparations. Start decluttering, start giving away items that you don't need. Just start preparing for it, so that when it does come to pass, you're not behind. And God's gonna be like, well, I told you, but you didn't believe me, and now you're lagging behind because you didn't prep for it. You didn't make preparations. So it taught me to, instead of sitting in my self-doubt, just to prepare in advance for things that he told me would come to pass. So I started writing down ideas that I felt like he told me that I knew was going to be like in the future, things that would happen in the future that I knew wasn't for now. But since I wrote it down, I'm going to be prepared for it, so when it does come to pass, so that I'm not behind, but I'm right on time. Okay, last but not least, y'all, cravings. I know we all deal with cravings. I feel like cravings are tied with emotions as well. With the Daniel fast, you know, I couldn't eat like indulgent foods really, especially like no sugar. So basically you do like a no sugar detox for 21 days as well. I'm not gonna lie, I have like a sugar craving. You know how some people like salty foods and some people like sugar, like sweet foods? I like sweet foods. So this was really hard. My only sweets were basically fruits. There was no honey, no sugar, not even like natural sugar. It taught me that the more you deny your cravings, the less stronger they become. I've seen videos with people like, oh, how to reduce the food noise, how to reduce your cravings. The way to reduce your cravings is by starting with the first no, okay? You have to realize that these food noises, these thoughts, these feelings, these emotions, they are not the boss of you. Rather, you are the boss of them. You get to tell them no. You don't let them overtake you. But you have to start with the first no. And then it gets easier and easier over time. You'll realize this. Once you say, no, I'm not gonna have that today. Guess what? The next day, you can say no again. The next day, you can say no again. It gets easier. But then when you do have it, you can have a little bit and be like, you know what? That's enough. I'm good. And move on with your life. You don't have to keep indulging and overindulging and then sinking, and before you know it, breakfast, lunch, dinner is junk food. Breakfast, lunch, dinner is processed food. Foods that are unhealthy and not good for you. When you start with that first no, the food noise diminishes significantly each and every time. So that's how you combat food noise and cravings, when you realize that you have authority over it rather than it having authority over you, because God said we're not a slave to sin. Those are 22 benefits of a Daniel fast, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I hope you guys enjoy and learn something from this, and I encourage you to do a Daniel fast, even if you can't do it for the entire 21 days. Girl, I didn't do it the entire 21 days. The first couple of times I did it, and I feel like God helped me really prevail and use those past experiences to help me with this one. You know, God is with you throughout any journey that you embark on. Like I said, it's not about the food, it's about all these other extra golden nuggets that God teaches you throughout this process. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Don't forget to like this video, to share it with a friend, and to subscribe for more, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.